just their UFC debut match, but Paddy the Paddy Pimblett isn't your regular fighter. Many believe that not only is Paddy the real deal, but that he is also a star in the making. But what do his fellow fighters have to say? And are they as impressed as the rest of us? Let's get right into it and find out. The hair. Paddy Pimblett doesn't look like most 26-year-olds. In fact, he looks so out of place that some ran to Twitter after his spectacular knockout just to comment on his appearance, with some saying he looks more like a Victorian child that time traveled to the future than a UFC fighter. The hair was so jarring that even fighters couldn't help but get involved, like former UFC and Bellator fighter Kai Kamaka, who tweeted what Paddy Pimblett told his barber, and UFC legend and commentator Daniel Cormier posting a vintage edited picture of Paddy as well. But hey, the wild rainbow hair is clearly working for Sean O'Malley, so why not sport a cut that's a little out of the box? Clearly it's helping him get noticed, even if it isn't the most flattering look. His record. While Paddy the Paddy Pimblett may be the talk around the water cooler now, it hasn't always been so easy for the 26-year-old from Liverpool. The former Cage Warriors champ entered his last fight with a 17-3 MMA record, but with 2 of those 3 losses coming within his last 5 fights. This was a major point of contention leading up to the fight, as many fans and analysts didn't know how he would fare when he stepped into the octagon for his debut. And while things ended up going his way, it wasn't always smooth sailing. Early signs of trouble. Paddy's opponent, Luigi Vendramini, who sported a 9-3 record entering the fight, had just come off a tough unanimous decision defeat in his last bout and was looking for redemption in a major way. He came out swinging, hoping to play spoiler to the obvious fan favorite, and actually clipped Paddy in the early stages of the fight to the point where everyone thought the Englishman was in big trouble. The Paddy was able to survive the left hook he took, however, and gained momentum as the fight went on, leading to a crazy back and forth as momentum started to shift. Current UFC bantamweight champ and fellow former Cage Warriors champ Aljamain Sterling tweeted, "That was cool AF. Back and forth, but Paddy comes out on top. Hey, if anyone knows a thing or two about roller coaster fights, it's Aljamain." What a finish! As the fight continued to escalate and the round was ending, the Paddy went to work, landing a flurry of punches that stunned and eventually ended Luigi's night. It was a brutal finish to one of the most competitive fights of the year and catapulted Paddy to social media darling overnight. Someone screenshotted his followers during his walkout and then after the fight, and he jumped from about 98,000 followers to well over 200,000 by the end of the night. Not everyone was impressed by the performance, however. While many, such as fellow fighter Belal Muhammad, complimented the performance on Twitter, number 15 ranked lightweight fighter in the UFC, Jamal Hill, tweeted that Paddy don't have no hands, followed by some laughing emojis, and would later follow up by saying that his knockout wasn't impressive because his opponent just gassed out. Oh well, you can't please everyone, Paddy. What's next for Paddy? Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we might see the Paddy in the cage for a little bit, as the damage that he received to his right thumb, of all things, could keep him out of action for 6 months, or until March. That decision isn't final and could change, but it would be a bummer to have to wait to watch another fight, especially if it is as fun as the last one. Now isn't the time to think about the negatives, though. Instead, let's switch over to who the young fighter might match up against next. Potential challengers. It's a lot harder to guess who Paddy will fight, as we just witnessed his UFC debut the other night, but judging from the show he put on and the reaction he received from the UFC faithful, I would think we see him continue climbing up the ladder up the division. Former Cage Warriors rival Julian Erosa, who fought on the same crowd as Paddy and earned himself a 3rd-round submission victory, has been open about potentially running it back with the Paddy and has even stated that he'll be waiting for him. The last time the two squared off, Paddy earned himself a decision victory, but many fans at the time, and probably Julian too, thought that there may have been some favorable judgments in Paddy's favor, so maybe a rematch is in order. Who knows as of now, but if it does happen, it seems like Paddy is going to have to drop some weight to meet Julian in the 145-pound division, 10 pounds lighter than where Paddy currently resides. Will this fight happen? Most likely, since there's some real tension between the two, but we may have to wait a bit as Paddy tries his hand at the 155-pounders first. What about Jake Paul? It feels like every UFC fighter has called out Jake Paul at this point, and Paddy is no different. Riding high off his impressive win, Paddy called the YouTuber a sausage and that he would fight him tomorrow and I'd beat him tomorrow. Not only that, but he would also go on to say that he would knock out the boxer after implying that Tyrone Woodley was robbed and that the only way to beat Paul is to keep it out of the judge's